nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Amen.
Thank you, Jason. Do we have any citizens' comments? Pretty quiet on citizens. Again, we'd like to welcome our new board member, Ben Reed, who will be replacing Andy Jocelyn, who resigned on 3/20/15. Under old business, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
I move to be accepted.
We have a motion by Mr. Fuller to accept them. Second by Mayor Deacon. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Excuse my throat. Do we have the treasurer's report review, please?
Yes. Everybody will pull this up, please. We're going to cover all this in a little more detail, so really let's just turn, this is the summary page, but let's just turn right to the next page, if you will, please. One thing I do want to point out is, our taxes have been running consistently in the 60s every month, and then even February was like in the 80s. Well, this dropped to 56,051. So, that's as a result probably of the oil impact, I think, finally hitting on some of the, people spending money in the local economy. So I think moving forward, we do have to be cautious about how we budgeted. I think we used an average number of $62,500 for our budget. And I'm not saying that that's attainable, but we do need to make sure that, we kind of monitor that as we go, because that number has dropped. And you'll see on the last page report where that is the case. So the revenues are the consistent revenues we've always had. You see some rental there, the beer warehouse. You see the loans that we have on the existing properties for a total of $59,813 there at the bottom. Ben, just for your information, you see the left there is the current budget column. We have the current period. We have year-to-date actual that we've spent and so forth. And then at the far right, kind of gives us a percentage of the budget so far year-to-date. If you turn over to the next page, of course, the current period, which is the second column, standard salary cost, nothing's changed there. That's the same amount there. Routine office supplies, you come on down, some legal to Howard Berger. You'll actually see the detail of the checks written as we get down a little farther. So nothing really out of sort there, all within budgeted categories. If you turn over to the next page, there's nothing for the current period. If you recall last month, we did have a debt payment of $24,945, which was part of the bond payment. I think y'all received also the bond schedule. Our next payment will be in September for the remaining part of that. Now, the beer warehouse, you'll see some expenditures there. If you recall, we didn't budget for this because we thought the transaction with the city would take place sooner, but my understanding from what I saw in the rental check that I just signed for the city, they prorated the month of March, which tells me that they're moving forward probably the middle of March as of the effective date, correct? So
I think it's about the same day of March.
yeah, so we won't have that expense there, and you won't see probably any other transactions on these pages, in the future moving forward. Okay, right now we just have necessarily utilities for each of those. Now, moving to the business park. Now, if you recall at the last meeting, we did a budget amendment. I don't believe that's gone before the city council yet to be approved, but I don't see that being a problem. All that was we have a road project at the industrial park out there. So that road project was bid at 900,000 and something. I don't remember the exact total, but anyway, that was our bid. Well, what I've had Connie do is adjust our budget to bring in that money into the budget, so when we pull that money out, it will keep a balanced budget. Right now, when we pull the money out, it's just showing negatives in those categories. But that will go away once we see the money pulled over. That was in a budget amendment. Our board passed that last month, and city council will take this up, I believe, the next meeting.
The next one,
Okay,
yes.
and then we should be good there. And then we'll keep these negatives on the right top showing up. See how under street, curb, and drainage, we wrote a check this period for those dollars, 170,000, et cetera. It's showing negatives over there because that money's not pulled into this budget, all right? But that will be fixed. Some engineering expenses with this project out there. If you recall, the engineering was part of the cost of the project. So as we complete different phases and they actually inspect the project, Tommy gets a written approval from the engineer that they've completed this work thus far and it's passed his inspection, and then we write the check, all right? So if you get to the very last page, you see on page 10, 790,000 is the total budget. You see the current period, we had about 180,940 in those expenses. Year-to-date actual, page 10, top right. Year-to-date actual, we have 493,000, and then the budget balance currently is 296,000 and $886 and change. So that is not entirely accurate because we actually had more in the budget balance, because when we bring that money over from our money market into this budget, then it will reflect a larger net difference there on the side, okay? Now, if you turn to this page right here, this is just a
Pages in it, label.
I'm gonna go over that. Let's wrap this up and I'll tell you those totals. All right, so we're gonna turn to this page. This is just a check detail disbursement. It's just simply City of Floresville for utilities, some web design, credit card, attorney fees, which was a combination of several things. We have some property at the Veterans Park that is contract work's being done on, as well as a few miscellaneous calls between the city attorney and Mr. Berger. D&D Contractors is our contractor. Frugro Consultants is our compaction engineers that our engineer recommended. It's a testing lab. Our engineer recommended that we hire our own testing lab with a third party for the compaction study, making sure that when they did do those tests, they met the standard. Harry Grove, 1,000 for its design on the business park sign.
How was
And
that
then it
determined?
helps.
That
What's
fee?
that?
How was that fee determined?
Basically, just, he was hired by,
Harry and I just negotiated, you know, basically, he started with his idea, and we've got the 15-footer as a result of that, but now we're back to this, that we'll bring up tonight, but it was,
Is the 1,000 turnkey?
I'm sorry.
Is that $1,000 a turnkey?
Yep,
So we're not gonna get another bid?
I'm sorry.
Silver.
Okay, so I think that concludes the expenses there. If you go to this very last page, then it shows you the revenues that we receive each month. See how we did have a drop for that one particular month, and we have, 6 more months to go, okay? And then we have our fiscal year last year stacked up to those numbers. So when we did our budget this year, we did bring down the projection a little bit to account for any possible change we might see. So that's where we're at there, and I move that we accept the treasurer's report.
Did I just miss the balance?
Oh, no, I did.
Jay, are you not getting a copy?
Yeah,
Oh, you always like to share.
I just sent.
Okay, so,
I want to sit closer.
Okay.
we've got
That's
two
us.
accounts. We've got the checking account and we have a money market account. If y'all would like to write these down, the current balance of the money market account is $1,176,899.75. So $1,176,899.75. Checking account has $201,669.06.
You know that roughly 1,300,000, 900,000 of that is committed?
900,000, well, some of it has already been paid out, so, but it's true, 900,000 is committed. And
But
so,
The balance is not 900,000, so it's 800,000 or
well,
700,000?
let's see here.
You know, it's more like probably 6 now.
Okay. So roughly, we're roughly standing around 600,000 in the bank,
Well,
700,000.
And, you know, this is going through closing on the
yes, that is
27th.
true. It'd be about 600,000.
Okay.
But on the 27th, we're supposed to close on 4 acres, and that's 197,000. That will go back in the account.
Keeping in mind, we'll get through the retention funds, which are under obligation.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
Yes,
That's right.
Everybody get that? If not, then
Do it on the
check that out.
Murray sometimes said something around 6, but I think we could probably shave some. I think we
600? Gee,
That
that's
seems
really
realistic to me.
impressive.
Two, we have to do 2.
Okay.
Okay, that's it for
Any
me.
more questions for Jason, anybody? Jason, thank you for your report. Committee reports, finance? What? Oh, we need to
Made a
get,
motion.
need a motion for to approve the treasurer's report, please?
So moved.
I made the motion.
Jason made the
I saw that
motion.
second.
I'll second.
Moved by Jason, seconded by Jay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Good report, Jason.
Thank you.
Good job. Now we can move over to committee reports. I'd like to know we've been joined by Councilman Dow. Finance Committee? Committee reports, Finance
No.
Committee? Personnel?
You go ahead and address.
You want to do that now?
It's,
I don't, there's nothing committee meeting, but we have a new member, and there's some housekeeping to do. First of all, I want to ask Tommy, for the record, has everyone on the board at this point done their required education?
Open meetings.
Yeah, the open meetings.
Just waiting on Chris.
TNDC, I think.
Yeah, I sent that, it's the Attorney General's, and do you have one to be on P and Z? I mean, all you have to do is do it once.
Yeah,
And,
get a copy of that certificate and give it to Tom.
Yeah, I did mine.
And make sure
He has it
it's-
on
okay,
file.
great.
but basically, you get it on there and you start, it's 1 hour. At the end, there's a code, and then you write that code down, and then at the final, they'll let you print out, based on the number you put in there, the secret code, you'll print out a certificate of completion, and you can keep a copy. I put one in, and last year we had requests for everyone's completion. So we just got to get it in before somebody asks for them, and I don't have one. And if you need anything else, I can send that website to you, whatever you need.
Then we all sign a document called conflict of interest, and that is to ensure that you're aware that if you are involved as a party to any of the business transactions that are going on, that you recuse yourself from participation in voting. You can actually, I think, discuss, but you attendance is really important. We pride ourselves in having had a quorum for every meeting we've had for the last 2.5 years. And so if you do need to be absent, and that occurs, every one of us has had an excused absence somewhere along the way, you let Tommy know, and we put it on the agenda to ensure that you are, when you ask for that excused absence. Okay?
I read that.
Okay, good deal.
Did three.
Yeah, 3 unexcused and.
Without email and link. Do you have proxies or anything like that?
Yes, sir.
One question, on conflict of interest, in recusing yourself, you really must do it on everything, right? Because you can't influence the decision one way or the other.
For that particular?
Right.
Yes,
So even
exactly.
discussion is not permitted.
I think in the past we've allowed some discussion.
Yeah, it would seem to
but-
me like you're already discussing it to influence one way or the
Yeah,
other.
it would probably be in our best interest not to allow it.
I would think so.
That's all.
Any more questions? Thank you. Thank you. Sure. Executive officer report?
I'll go through this very quickly. We've got Paul Sack here tonight is going to talk to us, and he and I have had several conversations before this about city pride signage, which is something TxDOT controls. It's their design, they put it up, they maintain it. But I think that we've had discussions about FEDC paying for the basic sign, and Paul will be here to discuss how much that is. In addition, on the exterior of the sign, we've had, I think, 7 civic organizations that want to put their banner, like Lions and so forth, and they'll pay for that along the edge. And Paul will follow here just as soon as I get through with talking. The city manager and I had a phone conversation with Lisa, who's vice president with Buxton, and I invited her to come tonight to present her company's views on helping us develop retail. Harry Grove and I have met several times, and that's on the discussion as well, but this is a smaller model that, will not go 15 feet in the air. Harry and I talked about this, and I've never had a request from any of the occupants of the industrial park for signage. And so we're like, why are we doing this? Why are we going to that extra expense? Plus just the maintenance of it, changing signs, going up 15 feet in the air, it's gonna be a nightmare for maintenance. So he's come up with this, and I'm gonna ask the board for their vote on the high or this one. Obviously, this one's gonna be cheaper, but Harry's gotten about 3 bids, and everybody's too busy, and it's too small a job. So he thinks maybe he can get 2 or 3 bids next week on this model. I talked to Richard Nichols, who's he's a regional president for New Haven Assisted Living and Memory Care Centers, and their feasibility ended a few weeks ago, and he is they're going to go forward and close on the 4.38 acres behind Studio C and in front of the Veterans Home, and that closing has been set for the 27th of March.
No.
April. April, I'm sorry, April 27th. The March 11th Alliance Breakfast, we had Ben Garza, who's the Senior Business Advisor, UTSA, and Ben and I are working, trying to come out with several series that we hopefully can get business people in Floresville to draw them in to want to hear generally about all the services that SBDs can offer companies, and most of it is at no cost. And So we're working to try to have a short seminar, breakfast meeting a couple of times, and hopefully out of that, we can get citizen business owners who will then call Ben for individual advising. And I stay out of the middle of it. That's confidential between Ben and the client, and he's already done quite a bit of counseling here, so it's been a good thing.
I will add one thing. Fred and I were at the meeting that morning, and it was a little light attendance, and you never know how those are going to go. But I will say this, that Mr. Garza did touch on a few hot points that kind of hit me. And we since have talked to him, he's come to my office, and we've actually started looking at some long-range planning with some things that we had in mind. So they have a lot of resources available, and I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they really do, and it's, you know, if you're making widgets or you're producing insurance forms or whatever, you know, they can go down to the point of looking at your processing or your production line and saying, what is the highest and most efficient use for that line, whether it's paper or widgets or whatever. And I've had them do that in Midland, Odessa, and they can do astounding things. And Ben's helped a number of people who wanted to start a business. They start in on the very basic of a business plan, and you've got to have that. And if you don't want to do it, then you don't need him, because that's the plans for all businesses, and they're pretty insistent on that. But he can help in anything, so we want to get that out there to business owners and let them know about those resources. And we're trying to use a topic like success planning for your business, rather than saying business counseling, or, because that takes, to me, it takes on a negative connotation that you need help. And Ben approaches it on here's some modeling for success, do these things, the chances are higher for success, and that's how we're approaching marketing. That's it.
Thank you, Tommy. Any questions for Tommy? Next, we have agenda item number 5, discussion and possible action item. Mr. Paul Sack will explain the City Pride signage program.
Thank you. I'm going to pass out some past literature. I was gonna picture from the other side of the table.
But you couldn't reach it.
I could be. Okay. You're probably aware that many cities in Texas and throughout the country have what they call now city pride signs. And for the most part, they're dedicated to the service organizations in the town. And these are some of the service organizations that we have in our town. We have, and if there's one that we're missing at this point in time, I'm not aware of it. And as Tommy mentioned, we do this in conjunction with the textile. What's in this packet that I gave you out initially is the agreement that has to be reached with TxDOT. TxDOT's role is working with the city, so the city and TxDOT can find an approved location for the signs. Like if you want to put them on 181 from the south and the north, they'll approve that. they'll approve the location. They also have jurisdiction over the size, can't be more than 8 by 10. They have some jurisdictions over the construction of the sign. But in the packet I gave you, we have made contact, actually Ben Reed made contact with D. Smith, a contract specialist for TxDOT. Once you make the decision to go forward with this type of a project, then you would contact Ms. D. Smith, which number is in here. He would come down, he would work with you. A copy of the agreement is in each one of these packets. And in addition to approving the location, they will help you a little bit with the design of the sign. In the literature I passed out, you'll notice that we have the Lions and the Rotary and the Knights of Columbus, American Legion, and others in this town. And again, I don't know if we have missed anybody. So that has to be looked into. Also, when the sign is complete, it is not the responsibility of TxDOT for maintenance. It is the responsibility of the city, not the department. TxDOT does as little as possible, but they are very helpful. As far as designing the sign, I would reach out also to Harry Grove. He's had some experience along these lines. And all the clubs have been contacted, and all of them have agreed that they would furnish these medallions, which are normally metal. They're anywhere from 22 to 30 inches in diameter. Most of them are in a round configuration of some sort. And they've all said they would contribute those.
The Peanut Festival Association.
Yeah, like the Peanut Festival, like the women's music group, all the nonprofits. I mean, there's a lot
How
of.
many decals? I'll just call them decals.
Oh,
How many
10,
can you
you're
do?
going like.
oh, you could easily do 10 to 12 on a sign.
And I don't want to overstep my boundaries because we talked about this a while ago. This is something that we approached at the Lions Club, it's like 2 years ago, on just in the community bringing together this. When we came in here, and you go to all these other communities, they'd be
Oh,
like,
man, this is, the whole spirit is cooperation.
no, I'm saying, but it had no great,
You know, so that's
but he's
the-
talking about the sign like Perry Grove.
Yeah.
You don't need any design. Basically, it's the green sign you see on the overhead.
Right.
And it just says, welcome to Floresville with the Texas logo. So there, I don't think there's any cost on, you have to reach out to have it designed.
Well, you might want to reach out to have the placement of the emblem
Yeah.
properly.
Right.
And that's something that it's best to get somebody that probably knows something about that form. That's what I'm suggesting here. But we would like to know of other clubs and organizations.
What if something else moves in and they want to be added to it? Is that possible?
Well, it would be best to try to get as many up front as possible. We could design the sign in such a way that we could add on at a
But
later
the
date.
size is restricted to 8 by 10.
Yeah, but you could put another one of those other, or kind of secondary signs.
No,
No, still have one.
only one sign for entrance to the city.
Yeah.
You could also, in the future, as the town grows, you could put one on 97 both ways too. That's it. I will work with Mr. Raker as much as he wants to get this completed, but we do need from you all your input on it. So we're all of one mind, and you guys have approved it. Okay? Thank you.
Back one more
Yes.
question. What's the cost involved, or what's?
The cost for the sign itself, that, a lot of that depends on how you design it.
Okay, so we
It
would
could-
design it and
yeah.
the cost.
And the FEDC, as I understand, will pay for the sign. The clubs will furnish their own signs that go on the sign. Yeah.
So our responsibility would just be the sign frame with the backing, and then each club member would furnish their own emblems and logos.
Yeah.
Correct.
They would, the ideal way, I've talked to the people from Texas, the ideal way is you find out who's gonna be on it, how big their signs are, and then you figure out a placement for all of them, and then you can go forward.
So we do like 4-H and FFA, or no?
Let me see.
4-H and FFA?
See, again, that's why I'm here. We just went out to the clubs that I know, the Lions and the Rotary and the Masonic and the VFW. But if you want other organizations on there, that's
Knights of Columbus?
That
Knights of
that
Columbus.
list is 7 right now?
six right now.
6, so we have 4.
Yes.
For the
Ask a
record,
question
there is
about
no more
this.
Rotary Club in Floresville. It's dissolved.
Well, as far as I talked to Diana Walcott,
It's
Next.
dissolved.
she said as far as the charter with the Rotary, that they're on suspension right now.
No, it's dissolved. They gave all the money out and everything.
So they're kaput.
If we want to, we can go to
Rotary
Rotary
Club.
Club in San Antonio, or Pleasanton or wherever.
Okay, any more questions?
I think Jay had a question.
I think the sign is a neat idea. I've had trouble with this. Why is this something FEDC take the initiative on and or pay for?
Well, in the past, not that the past means that it's the present, but we have.
I'm just asking for justification for economic development.
I think it falls under advertising, marketing, when you actually drive into the town right now, all of our signs do need to be fixed or redone. And so this could be an opportunity to kind of maybe get that kicked off and get that done.
And there's no reason why we shouldn't lead the way to show togetherness, because you go into town, what if you see a sign that says, "Welcome to Floresville," or inviting, as a business you come in. So if you look at it, you see all these groups working together, you're trying to attract a business to come into town. What better town to come to, someone that says, all these groups are here, and all of us are working together, whereas if you just blank and there's nothing there.
I don't think, I'm not speaking for you, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of along the same lines. It's not that, it's.
Is that
I
really
want us to become
economic
the dumping
development
ground for
function?
every project that comes along, and that's where
I think this is a unique project, though.
I don't think it's unique, I think it's, probably needed.
Yes, Mr.
And I agree, something neat.
I just have a question in reference to, I didn't catch how many signs? I know you said it would, when you come in 181 and Mexico.
Yeah.
I didn't know how many signs would be proposing that.
One from the south and one from the north.
So just
on
total 2
181.
signs.
Not on 97, as I understand it.
Yeah, so we're just talking 181 itself. is that-
Just 181, if you want to expand it to 97, that's up to you folks.
So there's 2 signs, and you said that who were maintaining after the signs or purchasing
The
the signs?
city won't have to maintain the signs.
Have you seen the signs we get on it?
Well, it just says basically a city may install one city pride sign per highway entering the city, so I guess you'd actually have it on every road.
Well, you can have it
It's
on
a
So
97.
it has a city agreement, so the city has to approve it first. So that's to go before the council.
I didn't get it, so I didn't get that design enough.
I'm going to pay for this.
Well, we've done a survey in the state of Texas. There's quite a few of these signs up in a lot of the cities, and I've driven down 281 and seen quite a few also up north. So, I hope you give it your consideration, and we'll let you move forward.
Anyone have more questions for Paul?
Thanks, Paul.
Paul, thank you. Now to item number 6, discussion and possible action item.
This is our action item. It's possible action.
What it says.
Number 5.
It's possible.
Is it also able to
We
go
can
into
go to the
executive session?
That's not an item on that. Go to executive session.
Kick it on 12 to go to executive session.
Need to discuss
Well, I
it more.
think that,
Decision.
I'm off making a decision. I don't see the reason.
Did I miss something? How much is this gonna cost?
well, we don't know that, so my recommendation would be, this is my thought, is that we don't know what the cost is. It's something that we've actually talked about in the past in terms of trying to get the signs redone. We've also talked about maybe the chamber getting involved, if that's a possibility, I don't know if it is or not. But I would just simply have Tommy, if we wanted to do this in a motion or whatever we need to do, but to have Tommy just research the cost, the existing place that we have signs coming into the community, and have him then get bids. You know, we've already got a list of our service organizations. I did think that Mary Helen's idea of 4-H and FFA might be considered, because I tell you what, those are good little service organizations. And FFA picks up trash, you know, down 97 there, going toward the visitor center, and, you know, so they do community service work too, so that's just a thought.
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber could be on there as well, so I think we need to put a little more thought into it, but I would move that we give Tommy permission to investigate the cost and maybe proposals on these signs entering the main thoroughfares into the city of Floresville.
And I was led to believe, by my discussions with Jay, that, I mean, with Paul, that he was gonna have some pricing, so he didn't, and so it needs to be
I think
investigated.
back then it was like 110 a square foot, depending on the size of your sign. Don't quote me on it. You can check TechStop, they install it for you. So that's what you pay.
Better to get a firm number.
But we can get with TechStop down the road.
You have that in the form of a motion, Jason?
Yes.
There's a motion on the floor.
I'll second that.
Second, moved by Jason, seconded by Jay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
You said it's $110
Yeah,
per square foot?
that was 2 years ago, if my memory is.
Jeez.
Because it's a reflective sign, and it has to be at the standard of TechStop, so if someone hits it and it falls on them, they die, it's covered. If you see that in the back here, if you read it,
Okay.
so, it's right here. It even has the engineering specs, I think, right here,
Okay.
with the breakaway and all that.
Moving on to agenda item number 6. Again, discussion of possible action item. Review of revised model, first model is expensive Prince Urban Industrial Park entrance sign, considered by hearing.
And I'll come back with the price. Right now, I'm just looking for the tall one or the short one. Obviously, this is the cheapest, in my recommendation as well. I don't think we need it. And what Harry and I talked about, he just didn't put it on, but in either below the industrial park or in here to say a project of FEDC or another
We talked
project,
about that earlier, yeah.
you know, or another to make it even more costly.
And again, I don't think this is something that needs to go in executive session, it's we discussed right here.
I'd like to know how is this getting dated? You know, is it just, you know, I just want to know, how is it going out there first? As you said, the contractor said it was too small.
There needs to be a foundation, and basically all of this is out of a concrete block.
Oh, I understand that, but how about the process of bidding it?
Yeah.
You know, I understand the construction.
Yeah, and so far, he couldn't get anybody to give him numbers.
Well, what I would recommend is that you basically then do a request for proposals, and you can advertise it in the paper, and,
Just like our normal bid process, we have.
Might want to put some metal poles up front, because that's a county road and someone might hit it, so.
No, the thing is, to solicitate
Yeah.
that, so that somehow, you know, there may be someone out there.
Okay.
who would have done it.
And tonight, I'm just asking for a vote on
the
this.
design.
Okay.
Did you see the last design or not, the taller one?
No, I don't think. I was-
Okay, well, what it was a taller design, and it had each business's name, like with a removable plaque, but that's gonna add more expense, and really and truly, I don't think there's been a request to put their names on there, that's my
There's no
opinion.
retail businesses in there.
Right.
You know, where people are
It's
selling
just all
where.
service stuff.
Right. People that go there already know they want to go there and
Right.
that's where they go.
What's the height of that? Dimensions?
What does it say?
Have the tenants been asked?
Height
if they want
78
to-
inches
We're not
tall.
asking, we're not asking.
6 feet roughly?
Yeah, and 8 feet.
No one's
across.
requested that have a
And
sign,
this
No
is
one's
so
requested.
18 inches thick.
Okay.
They haven't been asked.
they have not been asked, that's
But
correct.
if y'all could make money off of that, to help pay for that.
They just gotta get big.
And the placement of this is okay with the county?
I'm sorry.
The placement of the sign is okay with the county?
We haven't, I'm trying to go, get our approval and go to the county and so forth. But this would be placed we own that triangle out front. I've already had it surveyed, and this is sitting on our property.
It's not on county, I mean, it's not on Texas.
It's within all the easements.
Well, I'll move that we,
Let me interrupt one second. The mayor did have one idea that you might want to think about. And that was if we elected not to go with a small sign or actually to investigate the taller sign still, you could perhaps charge for someone to advertise on the sign. That was an idea she just came up with.
I'm talking about the tenants already there.
Exactly, the
Isn't that what
existing
we want to
tenants.
promote, is the tenants that are there already?
Yeah.
Well,
say you put it up and then they come and say, we need to put my name on it, when there's a,
Also, about that, sorry about
no,
that.
it's okay.
Is that, I know you have a tenant, but you know, you've seen it in a commercial where someone else moves in and
Yeah.
like a patch match that paint. If we did that, it would have to be something that's,
Yeah, the maintenance would be a nice.
my concern is that it's just gonna be something we're gonna have to kind of keep up with, and this right here, once it's done, it's easy to do.
I think the main thing is that we put this out there to let people recognize this is a project that FEDC is sponsored.
And it's an industrial park.
I don't think it's necessary to put the name on
But it's, it's about 5 years late, but
there.
we need
So we're all
to
out of
claim it as a
things,
project.
Yeah, exactly. Where have you been the last 7 years?
Right.
well, I move we adopt a
There's
small
other
sign.
businesses that already have signs out there.
I'll second that.
Build
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what.
Let me add a little bit to it.
Okay.
Good to hear, I'm sorry.
Or you're gonna make 15
The mayor had a question that people that have existing signs, and there are several,
at the entrance.
at the entrance, are they gonna have to remove their signs, or we're gonna have our sign in conjunction with their sign, or?
Do they own that property there?
I think the signs are on.
It's on their property.
They're on their private property.
Full board. And, the way Harry and I have looked at this is the individual, there are two individual signs and they're across, this is Rancho Grande. So this is on the left as you enter and the signs are back over here. So there's lots of room to see this if you're coming from either direction on FM 537.
And, really and truly, most of your retail, you see those kind of placards. But on the industrial parks I've seen, they just have a main sign coming into it to at least have a place to know where.
I have an address.
That address on it, GPS, there you go.
Okay, back to my motion.
Yes, sir.
I move we adopt a small sign and authorize the ED to obtain bids on cost of it. Is it all we need?
Yes,
Come
sir.
back with recommendations. Yeah,
I didn't hear you, Fred, I'm
second.
sorry. Motion by Jay, second by Fred, that we research and adopt and get the cost of the smaller sign versus the large sign, and at that point, get back to us
Obtain bids.
and obtain the bids. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Well, Lisa, we finally got to you. Agenda item 7, Ms. Lisa Hilton.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, everyone. Again, I'm Lisa McKay, Vice President of a division called Community ID for the Buxton Company. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our methodology. I'm going to talk a little bit about our services. I know you've probably entertained other offers, other proposals, other firms, so I'm going to tell you how we differ also. And then feel free to ask questions as we move through the process. Buxton is considered the industry leader in what's called consumer analytics and site selection. We work with over 700 communities across the nation to help them increase their sales tax base, to decrease any resale leakage that we might experience, to improve the quality of life, and to be a proactive partner to their existing businesses. So in the private sector, we've been in the private sector for more than 20 years. The reason that we are considered the leader is because we have more than 2,500 different retail and restaurant concepts that we work with. We also work with hotel chains like Marriott. So Trader Joe's, Target, California Pizza Kitchen, In-N-Out Burger, Bass Pro, all Buxton clients. And they utilize our services to, number one, make strategic location decisions in the heart of their consumer. They work with us to make strategic merchandise intelligence decisions. So H-E-B Grocery, for example, who's a client, they look at stocking their shelf locations and mixing that service offering based on where they are in that core consumer. You'll notice H-E-B San Antonio is very different than an H-E-B Houston. So we work with them to make those decisions also, and then marketing decisions. So how do we message the right customer under the right roof with the right service offering? I tell you that to tell you that everything that we do in the private sector, we take those best practices and we apply those to our public sector clients. A lot of people don't know, and I've been with the company 9 years, a lot of people don't know that we're also newly in the healthcare space. So for the last 10 years, we've been working with healthcare providers. It's very synergistic to the retail world. We represent over 350 healthcare systems today, Florida Hospitals, Sisters of Mercy, Texas Health Resources. So we're not just a retail strategy. In the last 10 years, a lot of our public sector clients have utilized our services to do emergency care facilities, to validate a certificate of need, and really for healthcare providers, they look at things like payer mix, aging population of people, known presence of children, but it's a lot of those same variables that retailers look at to make decisions, and also marketing and a number of different service line offerings. So that is another thing that we do in the public sector, is help them with healthcare. In the industrial space, we have a lot of data sources specific to educated labor pool, average commute times. So again, it's an economic development strategy. It's not just a retail strategy. In Texas, and this is a sample of some of my Texas clients, I've got over 170 client cities in Texas. We have helped them successfully land over 35 million square feet of retail space in the last 4.5 years, which accounts for about $6 billion in increased annual sales tax. So this is a sample at Universal City, Commerce, Live Oak, Leon Valley, Shirks, all Buxton clients, and all fairly close to you guys. New Braunfels, also a client, so Dallas, so very big cities, very small cities that are like McGregor, Texas, less than 5,000 people. So we've got a lot of experience. It's not a cookie cutter approach to what we do. It's based on your need, it's based on your opportunity, and that solution is specific to you.
Do you collect a fee from these companies as well?
Yes, from the retail companies?
Right.
Yeah, we've been called a dating service more than once. So basically, you're not limited to our 2,500 retailers, but it certainly helps. We also, one of the ways in which we differ is we do a city-seeking retail platform specific to our retail clients, so they're able to shop you through our portal. So there are a lot of ways in which we allow you to leverage our relationships, but you're not limited to that.
So how much do you pay us to bring one of these people in?
We basically do their site selection.
Fair question?
Yeah. They kind of have that same pronged approach. Their due diligence process is very expensive. And this marketing information and the merchandise intelligence and all those things, it costs them money. So we're trying to help act as a go-between, get you on the radar screen, and connect you to them. We've been recognized by Retail Traffic Magazine, by Fast Company. We were speakers at International City Managers Association last year in Charlotte. We were featured speakers at TML. We're featured every year at IEDC. So we are considered the leader in this space. And we're empowering our communities with answers. Who are your residents from a customer standpoint? What does your workforce look like? Daytime population? Where are they? What do they require, and how do their needs change over time? So really beginning to think like a retailer, or if it's healthcare, really begin to think like they do, to have the same level of intelligence that they use to make strategic decisions, multi-million-dollar location decisions. So recruiting retail, and then not just recruiting retail. How do you really work with your existing businesses to help them better understand the customer, who that customer is, what services they should offer, and how do they market to them directly? So think about Bed Bath & Beyond, or think about Target or Walmart, who are all clients. They use us to directly touch their customer through the right media channel. And so can your existing businesses, your local level businesses. They probably don't have the resources that Target does, but through Buxton they would have those resources. And a lot of times that's kind of through your Chamber of Commerce. We allow them to use that information. Also not limited to demographics. You've probably had this conversation in the past, but if you are hanging your head on demographic information, they've said you're too small, probably. So we look at market trade area. We're looking beyond demographic information. We also know that by the time we received the 2010 census data, it was 1.5 years old, pretty out of date. So a retailer needs to look beyond just your age, sex, race, income, education. They need to know, how much are you worth to me? Are you going to shop in my store? Are you going to dine in my restaurant? And are there enough people that look like you to have an overperforming location here? So psychographic intelligence is what we use. I will say one of the other ways that we differ is we have an exclusive partnership with Visa. It does not exist anywhere in the world. We are the only company that can capture transactional level data from Visa, which is 60% market share. So if you have a Visa credit card in your wallet or debit card, we can actually capture that transaction, and there's not a company out there that can do that. We also have an Amex relationship. It's not exclusive to Buxton, but between Visa and Amex, we're capturing 84% of all credit card swipes occurring in the country at a transactional level. We also are Experian's Western partner. We access things like Equifax data, so we're looking at financial stress indicators, debt to income ratio. Knowingly or not, we're constantly giving away information about ourselves as consumers, and Buxton is the largest purchaser of consumer spending habits in the nation. So that's one of the ways in which we differ. We've been called the Cadillac of information sources. Psychographic information says that you and your next door neighbor, while you may be around the same age, income, ethnicity, both married, both have children, both educated, you're very different as you consume. BMW, pickup truck, wine drinker, beer drinker, Cheesecake Factory, Chili's. So that's the type of information that we have. That is what we then go quantify to a retailer, factoring in things like competition in areas that surround you, the density of customer that you have, the right type of customer, access, signage, visibility, traffic counts, all of those things get factored into this process. So more than 250 different data sources are used. We can separate up to 7 people under one roof, and it's 75,000 individual variables associated with customers. So a lot of data. We use a drive time methodology, so again, you're not limited by your political boundaries. I actually pulled your 15-minute drive time earlier today, and you're around 18,000 if you look at a 15-minute drive time, which is much better than showcasing 7. So you want to use drive time. That's the way a retailer views a market. Again, factoring in competition, we look at things like, are there any potential cannibalization issues? So a retailer does not want to cannibalize on its existing network. We need to be able to show enough customers to overperform for a second or third location, and it gives you a better story to tell. So we're looking at market trade area. Once we have that trade area delineation, we're able to marry that to your customer, and that gives us your unique DNA strand. We also are factoring in things like retail market conditions. So what is the leakage?